Oh, baby. Welcome to the 8 o'clock hour here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. We're having a lot of fun. Shout out to YouTube, Twitch, and the Xfinity mobile text line. We see you guys all on YouTube getting ready for John Lynch, who joins us on the Bud Light guest line. All postseason guests appear on the Bud Light guest line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy, especially during the 49ers game where they are rolling, and they get to rock and roll Sunday against the Dallas Cowboys this Sunday at 3:30 p.m. John Lynch, GM of the 49ers, joins us here in the Morning Roast with Joe Shatzky, the Butcher, and Bonta Hill. John, good morning. Welcome back to the Roast. And I believe we talked to you last year right before the Dallas Cowboys game, so maybe this is a good omen.
Let's hope so. That's what I'm saying. Same time, same place. But it's good to be on with you, and obviously a very exciting week. And 49ers Cowboys doesn't get any better than that.
It does not get any better than that, and we'll get to Brock Purdy in just a second because we have a lot of questions about Mr. Irrelevant, who is now irrelevant. But we want to start with the Christian McCaffrey trade because we like to joke around, Shashky and I, saying that, hey, you guys were down there in Marie P. DeBartolo way listening to the Morning Roast thinking, maybe those guys are up to something about Christian McCaffrey. You guys swing the big deal for Christian McCaffrey, and the hell with the picks because CMC is a factor. Can you take us through the negotiations or how that trade transpired to get Christian McCaffrey midseason? Because you guys haven't looked back with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, he's been a godsend. I'll tell you, everything you see on the field, you think you know a player, and then it's always you have a little bit of a different reality when you see him up close when they're on your team, and he's just as good as we ever thought he was on the field or better. I think the intelligence that he plays with is really just elite. His skill, his versatility, all that. But I just think the commitment to being that player is probably what you don't know from afar. And man, this guy, I tell people all the time, he works coach's hours. He's here in the morning. When you get here, he's still here when you're leaving. And it's just so impressive. And I think there's an aura of confidence that comes with having a guy like Christian on your side. He's kind of our version of Bosa on defense, and he's been tremendous. I think the way he kind of assimilated into our team, like right away, it was like he was an instant leader. He just fit really well, and we always felt like this was a guy who we admired as we started thinking and started hearing that he might be available. You start thinking, wow, this is a guy we really like where our offense is at. Do we need to do something? No, but this is a guy, if there's a guy to go get, this is a guy who could, the word we kept using was unlock what we do and make us even more tough to deal with. And I think the results have been tremendous, and I can't say enough about the way he prepares. And so it's been a great example. The productivity's been great. It's really been a nice deal for this organization.
Yeah, I mean, it feels, and you kind of identified it there, like what he does spacing-wise on that field to open things up for Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, and just his versatility in the run and pass game, and just formationally, it feels like this is the most open and dynamic and explosive this offense has ever been in your tenure.
Yeah, I think so. And, I think that goes to the development. A lot of that is the development of other players. Our offensive line's playing as well as it's played since we've been here. I'm really proud of those guys. There's guys you expect like Trent Williams, who's as good as there is, good a football player as there is in this league, let alone offensive tackle. Aaron Banks has had a fabulous year, really come into his own. Jake Brendell's really held down the center. You got that rotation with the rookie Burford and Danny Brunskill, who kind of comes in, and they've done a nice job playing. I think McGlinchey's, people like talking all the time about what he doesn't do, but I think he's been really Mike's played his best football, particularly in the last month or so. And so those guys are, but Christian, he does. You're right about the spacing. Checkdowns that used to be 4 yards are all of a sudden becoming 12, 13. It's just, it's added a whole nother dimension. And then to be able to spell him with a guy like Elijah Mitchell, and now that you're having him back healthy, to be able to put Debo on one side, Christian on the other, just presents a lot of challenges that the whole league is, having to deal with, and we're fortunate to have him.
John Lynch, GM of the 49ers here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. We like to keep it real on the roast, John, and we will get roasted if we don't. And one thing we said about Brock when he came in was like, boy, the 49ers going to be able to hold up? Are they going to be able to win the division with Brock Purdy at quarterback? Well, all he's done since he started is win every game. And in the second half last week, he really lit it up against Seattle. What has amazed you the most about Brock Purdy in his short tenure with the 49ers so far?
I think just the poise, the presence, the pressure on that position in this league it's immense. It really is. And I think one thing that we saw from day one, he wasn't going to be phased. I talk a lot about early on in OTAs, particularly training camp, when you're not getting many reps, and Brock wasn't. You had Trey getting a lot of reps because we were trying to get him ready. Nate Sudfeld was going to be our backup, and so you're getting him reps. And so the number 3 guy at that point, you're getting 4 or 5 meaningful reps. They're all meaningful, but reps that are kind of live during the course of practice in the team periods. But whenever he went in, he made the right decision, and it was oftentimes a bold decision, not like the safe one, but like fitting into, if throwing into a tight window was the right play, he was doing that. And when you make quick decisions and you anticipate in this league, good things typically happen. So we saw that box being checked from the beginning. Then you get in preseason and he's moving the team, and man, this kid's got some swagger to him. Mm-hmm. And then I think, the thing that probably, like when people say what surprised you, because people say, are you surprised? Obviously with this success we are, how well he's played. But I think the area that probably has surprised us, you saw some running ability in college, but I didn't know he's this good an athlete. He's a very good athlete.
Yeah, same here.
Carroll calling him Fran Tarkington. So, his ability to move on the field and create and extend, that has been, surprising for us. I can't say that we saw that. I saw a good athlete. I did not see this. And so he's been tremendous for us. And, it's been great to see those guys, whether it be Trey early on, Jimmy then came in, and now Brock picks it up. But the way they support each other, I think the job that Brian Greasy has done with them, the job that Kyle's done, kind of tailoring the offense to each one of them, I think that can't go unnoticed. Kyle spends time with those guys every day. So I think the whole picture has just been from that quarterback position, and then Brock especially, here at the end has been tremendous.
Yeah, the short area quickness for him with a guy in his face and just making a guy miss with a subtle little move. I didn't think he had it in the bag. It's hard to tell. Training camp, you can't hit the quarterback. You don't know what's going to translate in terms of scrambling. But, there's a story about how you acquired Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a story about how you guys came to the conclusion to draft Trey Lance. What's the story behind how you drafted Brock Purdy?
Well, the story was he had really good reports. He played a lot of football at Iowa State. The area scout that was there at the time was a kid. I call him a kid, but Steve Slowick, he's now in-house. He's a pro scout. His brother is Bobby, our pass game coordinator. And Steve was the area scout there. And, Steve would say, guys, I love the player, but you love the player more when you go hear from a head coach like Matt Campbell talk about this guy. And when you're using words like, or description such as this guy is a program changer. He changed our program here. He changed our culture here. Those type of things. So Steve Slowick would always talk about this kid. So you start watching him and you start really appreciating his game. We thought he might come out his junior year. He probably played a little bit better his junior year. Our grades were a little bit higher. He goes back for one more year. And then, prior to the draft, Kyle and I, when we're sitting down, we'd really like to come out of this draft with a young quarterback late in the draft, whether it be, a late draft choice or a free agent. We had some other things that we had to get for our roster that we needed. But man, it'd be nice to come out with a guy we really like and want to invest some time into late. And so, you kind of then scouting kind of hands it over to the coaches, and the coaches and our area scouts work together. And so we handed a bucket of, probably 8 to 10 guys down to Brian Greasy and Clay Kubiak. They worked on it together, and they really came out convicted that they wanted to come away, in some form or fashion with Brock Purdy. And, because we had our other needs, we had to add some corners, we had to add an offensive lineman, we were pecking away at those things. And then you get to the end, and there was like a linebacker we liked, and then there was Purdy. And you just said, man, we think we have Purdy as a free agent, but, why wait on that? Because we knew there was competition for him as well. We had that last pick. Didn't know if he'd last. As soon as that pick right before us went, we said that, Kyle and I looked at each other and said, let's just pull the trigger and bring him in. And so we did, not to try to be cute with the old Mr. Irrelevant thing. We really liked the guy. And I think the conviction of an area scout like Steve Slowick, the work that Greasy and Clay Kubiak did, they Zoomed him a lot. They talked to a lot of people at Iowa State. And when you have that kind of conviction, people really pulling for a guy like that, you feel compelled to do something. And man, I'm sure glad those guys were convicted, because he's really been something special for us. And I'm grateful to all those guys that I mentioned.
Hall of Famer as a player, John Lynch, here on the Bud Light Guest Line, GM of the San Francisco 49ers, and he's helped build this thing brick by brick into a bully, the 49ers, that is. And you brought up Kyle Shanahan and what he's been able to do with all these weapons. Brandon Ayuk goes for over 1,000 yards. George Kittle's just been dynamic over the last 5 weeks of the season. Tebow looked fresh last week against Seattle, especially on that 74-yard catch and run. How has Kyle Shanahan, though, John? You've been with him every step of the way since 2017. How has he grown as a head coach to what he is today from where he was in 2017?
That's a great question. I think he came in pretty damn good. I really do. And I knew, I had broadcasted games. I had played for his dad, broadcasted a lot of games that he was the offensive coordinator. So I knew, this guy's different. The level, the ingenuity, the detail, the rapport with players, those things travel. Those things your eyes can see. What I didn't know, a head coach is up in front of a team every single day, and you have to be able to command their attention, command their respect. And so I was blown away, when Kyle, right at the start, had never been a head coach, and the way he got up and earned those guys' respect and earned their loyalty and all those things. So I thought he was really good from the start, but we all evolve. I think we've probably evolved together. I think some of the things we've learned in the talent acquisition and the type of players we want. You talked about being a bully. Mm-hmm. Early on we were so hell-bent on having speed, and we wanted to improve the speed, and we wanted people who could separate. Well, so you start picking players like that, but probably a lesson we learned, and how you end up with a guy like Debo is you need some bullies. You need those guys, and that are going to play with some power and all that. So there's lessons like that. But I think other things, you have to be okay. Sometimes with playing younger players, and I think we've done a better job of that, and letting those guys develop. And you're going to have some pitfalls early when you do that, but you're going to reap the rewards when you put in that time. And so I think there's things that everybody evolves, but I guess the answer to that question, I think he came in really good. I think we're very fortunate. I know that we're very fortunate to have him as our head coach here. He's been great for me to partner with. And he's loyal as the day is long, and he's special, and we're very fortunate to have him here with the Niners.
Yeah, and I think the underrated aspect of it's obviously the stars speak for themselves. Debo and Kittle and all these guys, they pop off the screen. I'm impressed with the Burford and the Bankses and the Hufangas and the Gibsons and the Diamondor Lenores. And I guess that goes back to the staff. They've lost a zillion people off this staff. And I look up, and he reworks it every single year. And it's all these new guys. You reference Greasy, and who knows what happens with DeMeco Ryans this offseason. How he's built the staff, I think that's the most impressive thing for me, because every year you're losing 3 and 4 different guys.
Yeah, and that's a challenge. And, I think when you build a place where people want to be, they hear. And that goes to our ownership, the things, the only question Kyle and I ever get from the York family, from Jed specifically, is, obviously you have budgets and things, but is it going to help us win? And I think, I talk about things traveling, word traveling. That word travels. People want to be here. People want a part of what we have. I think, we have a fun environment where people come to work every day and look forward to coming to work. And, now we're starting to consistently win. And so we got to make good upon that. But, that ability to reload has been tremendous for Kyle. And I think when you become one of those destinations where people want to be to build, you can endure some of that. It is difficult. We lost another one yesterday, Rand Carthon.
Yeah.
So happy for him. One of my great friends in this world, and I'm so happy for him. So you're really fired up, but there is a void. You're like, okay, how are we going to replace this? But that's why I think we're so in our process and about developing young talent. Because you always have to be prepared for somebody leaving, and I think that's one thing that we prided ourselves in, is you're always developing the younger scouts so that you can just, it's hard to replace some of these guys, but there are people there that are qualified and ready and prepared. And so it's something we think about a lot. And, I guess they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery. So when people are taking your people, you're doing something right.
John Lynch here on the Morning Rush on 95.7, courtesy of the Bud Light guest line. Who wanted the Cowboys more, the NFL as a league or Jed York?
Ooh.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just such a great matchup. I think it's ironic that, it was just 2 weeks ago we were watching the highlights of the 50th anniversary of the catch and all that. So storied rivalry. Most importantly for us, as we start our preparation and continue our preparation this week, they're a really good football team. We saw that. Everybody who watched them play against Tampa, on Monday night saw that. So I think it's going to be a tremendous matchup. We have a lot of respect for their organization, a lot of respect for their players, a lot of respect for their team, and we know we have to, right now our focus is solely on preparing, giving ourselves the best chance to go compete and win on Sunday. And man, the environment's going to be special. Levi's is going to be rocking. I know it. And, we don't have to ask for the faithful to show up. I know they're going to show up, but we would enjoy a little added intensity here on Sunday, because they've been a big part. There were some false starts against the Seahawks the other day where they were really flustered because of the energy and passion our crowd was bringing, and so we're looking forward to that, even at a heightened level this Sunday.
John, you're an old school football guy, and when I watch Nick Bosa, I see a guy that it feels like he could play in any era. And he was a little quiet this last weekend, but how important is he to the dynamic of that defense? Because you guys have changed so much personnel. There's been some schematic changes as well, yet he is as good as ever.
Yeah, I find that interesting that, a lot of people were saying, hey, the young tackles, and they're really good. John Schneider is really talented at building great rosters, and he brought some young guys in. They started 2 rookies. But there was a lot of talk that those guys shut Nick out. They didn't, like when Charles Omenihu stripped Gino on that, who forced him up? It was Nick. Nick kind of put him up into the abyss of Charles Omenihu, and Omenihu finished it. Nick always has an impact. You just look at the way schematically people approach us. There's always extra attention on Nick, which frees our other guys up. He's a tremendous player. And I told you guys about Christian's work ethic. There's probably one person in this building who rivals that work ethic, and it would be Nick Bosa. Everything from his diet to his lifting to his approach. This guy his focus in life right now is to be the best football player he can possibly be. He's become a really good leader. These Saturday morning after the walkthrough speeches, and you got to get in there because he speaks softly, but he carries a big stick, and his message is always poignant and powerful. His teammates really kind of thrive and wait for that every week. It's always some tremendous wisdom, and man, he's a special player. We're sure. I don't ever like picking number 2 in the draft. I hope we never do again. But to come out with a player like Nick Bosa, that changes your franchise, and we're reaping the rewards of that now.
Your linebackers, Greenlaw and Warner. I mean, these guys are tone setters. Yeah. And you talk about throwback players. I know they're obviously way more mobile than the old school linebackers that used to go head on with fullbacks. These dudes are just awesome. Do you get a lot of pride watching them out there thumping dudes sideline to sideline?
Love it. I love it. I played on a defense where we had a guy in Derek Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
And he's probably my favorite teammate I've ever had. He's in the top 3, 4. And what a player, man. And it was sideline to sideline. It was hitting people and the hitting yardage, like no falling forward. He was knocking them back. Yeah. And we used to play Michael Vick, and we played Michael Vick fairly well. And that was largely in part because, we could put pressure on him, but then we had a guy in 55 that could track him down. That's what these guys remind me of. They've been coached well from the time they've been here. They're both pros. Fred's in that elite, elite leadership, elite, work ethic. He's an example for other players. And then Dre.
He's a maniac, John.
So impactful, man. He's all over the field. I love it. Kyle calls him Tyson. And so he's a tremendous football player. Those guys they're tone setters. I think that's a great way to put it. And,
I love Greenlaw. John, before every game I'm watching him, he's like hitting his helmet.
I love him.
I went up to Seattle and saw him. I'm like, man, this guy's a throwback, dude. And sometimes he's reckless, but you know what? You need some of that on the defense, man. And he's out there popping dudes left and right. Real quick before we get you out of here, John, and we do appreciate the time today. We really do. And we can't wait for Sunday's game against the Cowboys, man. We've been setting the tone on the Morning Roast all week long. How close, though, were you last year to jumping back into television? You brought up television. You were a great broadcaster. And then I know the rumors were swirling after the NFC title game, but we're thinking, John, you're going to leave this? You just built this, man.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. I get it's a lot of money, man. Are you even thinking about TV right now? What's the focus, man?
No, my focus on beating the Cowboys. I was humbled, Freddie Godelli, the great producer, long worked with Madden and Michaels and all them. He called at some point and said, hey, when you guys are done, I want to talk to you about something. I had no idea what he wanted to talk about. When you have friendships like that, you take the meeting. So my wife and I hosted them in our house, and only to be really shocked. And I knew it was when all of a sudden Amazon executives started showing up at my house. I knew something was up. It was flattering, and they had a vision for what they wanted to do. I listened to the meeting. I had told Kyle and Jed about it, and so they knew, and they were supportive that I should listen. But I had no idea they were gonna have an offer like they did. And so of course you think about it, but it led me to a lot of thinking. Why am I doing this? Why did I do it in the first place? And a lot of it came down to unfinished business. The other thing, I got up in front of our team and I talked about, how we proceed from a heartbreaking loss like the NFC Championship. And, I remember kind of being up there and saying, if I leave now, man, that's not cool, because I'm up here telling these guys how we rebound from this. And if I'm talking about my mind can't be anywhere else. And that's right about when I made my decision. I'm thrilled that I did. I love being here. Man, looking forward to Sunday, trying to get to the next level. The finality of this time of year in the NFL is what makes these moments so great. You don't get them back. And so we got to make the most of them. That starts with our prep, and appreciate your guys' support. Appreciate all the fans, the faithful. They're as good as can be. Our alums are going to be here and in a strong fashion. It's going to be a real fun environment. We got to prepare to play against a really good team and do whatever it takes to move on to the next step.
And it's going to be dry, finally.
Yes.
For the first time, it feels like all year you played more weather games than I can ever remember in Niner history. I cannot wait for Sunday.
Cannot wait for Sunday. The field looked great, by the way, John. Last Saturday, the field looked great with the red paint in the end zones. We're suckers for the saloon font, in those end zones. So it was a lot of fun. And by the way, 2023 season tickets now available. So now's a good time to cash in on those season tickets, John.
We're both season ticket holders, so we know.
We'll be there Sunday. We'll be there next year, the year after that. John, we appreciate the time as always,
John.
man.
Yeah, it was fun, fellas. Thanks a lot.
Anytime.
Awesome.
John Lynch, GM of the San Francisco 49ers here on the Bud Light Guest Line. All postings and guests appear on the Bud Light Guest Line. Bud Light, easy to drink, easy to enjoy.